transaction. Then we have taken different operations which are possible within a transaction, right? Like suppose you are operating on a system, on a transaction processing system for your transactions. So there could be I mean, from user side only there are two operations. I mean, broadly, reading or writing about, or reading or routing a data item. But along with it, unintentionally or maybe system is providing some options to the user so that they can start their transaction, they can terminate, or they can basically close their transaction. So broadly, in a transaction processing system, we have these five different operations possible. That's what we have discussed. Like whenever we are intending as a user, whenever we are trying to access the data for that, or whenever we are trying to modify the data for that also, the very first operation we used to do on a transaction is to start the transaction, is to begin the transaction, right? So beginning transaction is something, is the first operation which is supposed to happen in the transaction, right? So begin transaction or start transaction is something, is the first step of first operation in a transaction. Then user will be operating his required operations, like he will be maybe reading some data value from a system, or he may be updating or manipulating some data by his requested operations, right? So that is something second. So either he is performing reading or read data item X, or he will be performing write data item X, right? Something like that. So after this, naturally there will be a kind of step planned in a system which indicates that, okay, from this point transaction is ended or transaction is completed as far as user concerned, actually, right? So once this transaction reaches to this point called in transaction, means in transaction indicates that all the user operations uh, has been basically completed or has been delivered to the user. After that, actually, we have got this point called commit point, right? So commit point is very critical as far as a transaction life concerned, a transaction aspect, right? Because once we have got, our system has got this commit point achieved, you can say this transaction is successfully completed, I mean, as a whole. So as far as user concerned, the transaction is completed once we got this point called in transaction. But so once you see the lifetime of a transaction concern, this commit point is very critical, because once a transaction reaches to this point called commit point, uh, it means each and every change on the data item as far as the write operation concerned. In case of read operation, there will be no changes on the data item involved. So whenever a transaction is having a write operation inside it, whenever user is performing some write operation on some data value, then this rule of write commit point is becoming, I mean, very important, very pivotal, because uh, so based on only commit point you can confirm that this transaction has been completely saved. Any change which user operation has created has been reflected permanently, stored permanently, right? So that's why it is important. And commit point is something which indicates that all other transactions also which are accessing this particular data item, because that's what we have assumed, that whenever we are operating on a data item, it is always possible that others users, other differently located users might be accessing the same data value for their intended transactions or for their intended operation on the same data value, right? So that's why whenever we are performing some write operation on a data item, there is a highly possible scenario that others user are also concurrently accessing the same data value for maybe for read or write operation, right? So that's why it is very important to see the position or this possibility of commit point on each and every transaction available at any point of time in the system, right? So suppose in a database system there are around 20 or 30 transactions running on the same data value, and they are operating some operations, some different operations, like some are performing read and some are performing write operation. So it is very important to maintain this kind of setup, that each and every data item which has access the same value prior to one transaction, another transaction, it should be properly maintained, right? So suppose there are two transactions who are competing for the same data value, and suppose transaction T2, which has arrived in the this system a little later, or maybe same time. Suppose the second transaction is committing his commit point after the completion of after the commit point of first transaction, right? So it is very important to see what is the stage of commit points, which transaction is committing first, which transaction is committing later on, which transaction is performing write operation, because write operation is something which is the bone of contention, you can say. Because of that write operation only, we are concerned about the possible valid state, possible consistent state of a data value, right? So today we are going to see this concept called, you can say, okay, suppose we are having multiple transaction in a system. So in the previous class we have covered this aspect. Okay, there is a four possibilities of conflict. So conflict is broadly nothing but it is a state when we assume that, okay, two transactions are fighting, two transactions are basically having these kind of operations arranged within it, uh, due to which both transactions are fighting for the same data item. That's one. And all different operations on two users or two transactions are having this write operation. So, but based on this definition, we have in the previous lecture we have taken this concept called conflict, right? So if we are having two transactions, there is a possibility of four type of arrangements, right? So suppose second transaction is operating right after reading, after write of transaction T1, so we can say it is a write conflict. Then we can have a write read conflict. Then we have read write conflict. Then we have a read read conflict also. So these are the four characteristics or four possible scenario of conflicts, right? So conflicts are something are severe because so suppose two transactions are conflicting with each other, and due to some reason one transaction fails. So then there is a problem that, okay, how to recover, how to maintain the validity of the system, how to make system consistent. So that's why we have three, at least out of these four, three possibilities are very critical, because in the first three possibilities we have at least one write operation involved, right? So whenever we have at least one write involved, there is a possibility of losing something, there is possibility of reading incorrect value. So right, so suppose two transactions are arranged in a conflict way, they are having conflict between them for a single data item, and due to some reasons also we have discussed in the previous class, due to some reasons, out of these two transactions one transaction fails, then what we will be doing as a system, what DBMS system will be doing, and what will be the approach for whatever the policy solution. So we have pointed out, whenever a failure occurs in these transactions, you need to have two possibility, recovery and rollback, right? So you have two possibilities, basically two solutions to deal with failed transactions. So first possibility is recovery, right? How to recover a transaction when basically out of between two transaction of one transaction fails. And so naturally failing of one transaction affects the state of second transactions or other transactions available in the system. So there will be two possible solutions available for that. And first we have said it is a recovery, and second we have said it is a rollback, right? Both are somehow kind of similar, but not the same procedures or same strategy, right? But in case of recovery, the objective in the recovery algorithm or in the recovery system, we have this objective to recover the values, recover the, suppose data item X is modified like X by transaction T1, and it is modified by T2 transaction. Then how system will be recovering these updated values, how much update has been done, what is the update constant used in the transaction. So all these things will be recovered within a transaction by some system component, and we said this DBMS component called recovery control system, right? So for that there is a separate system planned in the DBMS, which will be taking care about these modified value modification or temporary values, right? That is one part. Second part is rollback, right? So the rollback is something, is a extended process, it is a detailed process. So for that also in system there is a module called concurrency control module. So concurrency control module will take care about how to perform rollback, at which point we need to perform rollback, right? So broadly, if you see, the rollback is basically to perform rollback, you need certain points in the transaction. right? So that's why these different steps, these different operations are important. That's why we are keeping the record of these transactions. We are maintaining this, what is the time of in begin transaction, what is the time of read write operation, what is the time of in transaction, and eventually what is the time of commit. So because based on these different operation timings, operation, you can say timestamp value, uh, in all transactions in the system on the same data item, we will be able to roll back, we will be able to retrack or restate the transaction systems, right? So this we have two possibilities, two solutions: recovery and rollback. And to perform these two operations, we need to see what is the criteria and what is the steps involved in each of these, right? So broadly, let's understand, or let's start slightly opening the different concepts. So like in the previous class, we have taken a different term like transactions. So now we have assumed that in a system, in a particular transaction processing system, it is highly possible that it will have more than one transactions involved. So whenever we observe, okay, well, how many transactions has been involved in the system, what is the different state of the transactions. So for that, there is a term called schedule. Schedule is nothing but it is a simple or organized detail of all these transactions in a system and all these operations within the transactions, right? So suppose you can see here, suppose in the left side figure, you can see, suppose we have two transactions, T1 and T2 is currently running, or maybe in the past it was running, both are running the system with these interleaved instructions. In T1, you can say read x equals to x minus and this update operation. Then we are having this, after these two instructions, we have got the entry of T2 transaction with operation like read item x, perform x equals to x plus 1. Then again context is coming to x, write item x. So again we got new data access in the T1 transaction which says read data item x, y. Then we have again interleaved operations from T2 transaction which says write data item x. Then again context is changing and we have got operations from T1 and operations like T1, okay, y equals to y plus n, then again writing on y. So this is the typical schedule, you can say. So in a schedule, you can say these two transactions are arranged. There are different operations, interleave operations, which are performed by these two transactions, right? So basically, schedule is a representation. So schedule is a history, or you can say it is a set of logs, set of operational details within a transactions which are involved in basically in some system. So at any point of time, if you see the logs of your laptop also, there are various details has been saved in the backdrop or saved in the particular file, which indicates the different operations performed on different maybe PDF or maybe Word file or maybe any folder. So similarly, a transaction processing system also maintains the schedule records. So schedule record says, okay, so in a whole day, a day of, in the 24 hours, what are the different operations performed on different data items by different transactions or maybe by different operations, right? So schedule is simply as a representation. So you can see here in the bottom, you can write the same transaction schedule with the two transactions T1 and T2. You can say, okay, I will be writing this in a different way. So I have said, okay, this is a schedule SA. So A is simply indicating, okay, this is one of the schedule in the system. So SA is having operation like we have got R1X. So R1X means this is a read operation from transaction T1. So that's why the subscript 1 is placed. So like R1X indicates that it is a read operation by transaction T1. So number of, transaction ID is placed in the subscript of the operation. Similarly, after that, so after R1X in the transaction T1, next operation which we have received is read operation of X by transaction T2. So that's why it is said as it is R2X. So R2X simply indicates that this is the read operation by the transaction T2. So similarly, you need to see, okay, you can see here, so these transactions indicate some kind of chronology, that how they are appearing in a schedule, within a schedule by different transactions. So this schedule also indicates the sequence of operations which are imposed or which are submitted into the system by different transactions in the schedule, right? So in place of this representation, which is shown in the two different columns, we can write a schedule also. So big schedule also in schedule. This schedule indicates the similar kind of sequence of happening of different operations. Yes, yeah, there is no description of operation available. Like in schedule, you cannot write like x equals to x minus n, right? So that is not, I mean, that is something you can say schedule is a basically this representation. It is abstract representation. In schedule, we are not intending, or we are not we have not mentioned these operation, actual instructions which has been performed on the data value, right? So so you can say schedule is basically having or adapting shorthand notations, which includes simply the, I mean, single letter representation for operations. So you can say, so B, R, W, E, C, D, A. So these are the single letters which indicates these different operations in a transactions. Like for begin transaction, you can use B, simply B. So it will be like B1. So B1 means it is a begin of transaction T1. Then we can have R read item. So it is like R1X, right? Simply you can have W1X, means write of first transaction. In transaction will be like E1. So E1 indicates that transaction E1 has been ended. All the operations has been ended. Commit means, okay, so commit is of 1 point, so you can write like C1. So C1 indicates that transaction T1 has been completed or committed. Or if desired, you can write if you want to use abort, you can say A1. So A1 means a transaction 1 has been aborted. Transaction T2, so T2 indicates transaction 2 has been reported. So now instead of these transactions in a schedule representation, we will be using these different single letters representation, single letter shorthand notations to indicate these different operations, right? So now similarly, you can see we have got new transaction called new schedule, in which we have got two different operations, and now interleave. So interleaving is reduced, I mean eliminated by some kind of arrangement. Like all the operations in T1 has been kept in one place on one single data item. You can see in the second figure where we have placed T1 and all its operations on data item X has been kept in one place. And then similarly for transaction T2, all the operations on the data item X has been kept in one single place. And after that, we have got another transaction on data item Y by T1, which is kept in the different place. So this is also one possibility. And for this transaction, suppose this transaction T1 fails, then what is the representation will be? It will be like a read of X, then write of X. So both transactions, these two operations of transaction T1, and after that you have got the sequence of operations from T2 transactions. So it will be like R2X, then W2X, means both are read and write operations from transaction T2. Then we have got one explicit indication that transaction T2 is having, T1 is having access on data item Y. After that, you can see there is instruction written as A1. A1 means it is about A1. So that's what we are saying, that during the execution of these transactions, T1 has failed. T1 has got some external interference, because due to which or because of which it is terminated, it is aborted. So you need to write A1 simply, right? So with this notation, you can now understand that, okay, how to how, I mean, basically these notations can be used as an alternative to express or to explain the transaction details, transactional operational details, right? So with this, let's go to the understanding, okay, what is the conflict say? So conflicts have, this conflict term is having appropriate definition or conditions, you can say. So whenever we have these kind of transactions involved, transaction A and transaction schedule A and schedule B, we could have multiple transactions defined or used within each schedule. And whenever we have two transactions, both these two transactions are conflicting for the same data item X, and at least one operation is basically involved write operation, one transaction involved write operation, then we can say these two transactions are in conflict, right? So that's what is defined here. You can read here simply, a schedule, if two transactions are said to be in conflict, when or if they are following three conditions, right? So they belongs to the different times. So operation should be like, so each transaction have some kind of operation involved, where both are accessing the same data item, and both operations belong to different transactions, right? Like this, and at least one operation is right on X. So this is some kind of common sense based definitions. That's what we are having the idea also, that okay, if two transactions are arranged in a schedule, and if both are having operation uh, which have this kind of right access, at least one right access between these two transactions, and that is happening on the data item X, then we can say these two transactions, these two operations are having conflict of interest, right? So in both transactions which have just seen, it is the case that both are conflicting. Both these two transactions T1 and T2 are having some kind of conflict on data item X, right? Because both are trying to either read or write or read, something like that. So both transactions are having operations which are conflicting. So you can say both transactions are having conflict, and these conflicts are the actually the reason for which we are planning this recovery thing, rollback thing, and all other time stamping protocols and all other things, right? So conflict is something it is very important. And now we will be starting a new, I mean, concept or direction based on which we can identify, and we can indicate that what will be the possible solution for recovering, what will be the possible solution to roll back the transaction, right? So there are two broad approaches which we have said, recovery and rollback, right? So I mean, based on these two characteristics, you can identify that where to apply recovery, where to apply rollback, right? So based on that, you can perform or you can use the algorithm. Means system, DBMS system is using these two characteristics, based on which the very first step to identify that this system, this transaction or this schedule needs a recovery algorithm, and this particular schedule required rollback, or maybe rollback algorithm, rollback system to use it, to be used, right? So DBMS system is having this tendency to identify that what is the nature of transaction, what is the nature of schedule, right? And so that is the first step. So whenever there is a schedule executing on system, within schedule there are various transactions arranged, the very, so maybe due to some failure of a transaction, this DBMS system or transaction processing system will simply identify what is the nature of failure. I mean, should we go for recovery? Should we go for a rollback? So based on that, it will only initiate the algorithm for respective reasons, or based on respective reasons, and perform this whole process of recovery and control, or concurrency control, something like that, right? So that's why we need to understand what are these two natures, what are these two characteristics. So whenever we have multiple transactions, whenever we have schedule in the system, we need to characterize, or we need to typecast the type of schedule. Okay, because based on that only system, or we can basically initiate, or we can call a procedure, right? So the first characteristic is recoverability. Recoverability says, okay, so is your schedule, is failed schedule can be recovered. I mean, we need to characterize it. We need to identify. So whether there is any possibility of recoverability or not. If there is no possibility of recoverability, then we can go for option two, which is called a rollback, right? So that's what we have taken as a definition also, that recovery is a small process. It will simply retract or extract the values of transaction which has been slightly modified, right? So once we have got this idea that okay, a transaction can be recovered, then only we will initiate that process. If we realize that this transaction cannot be recovered, then only we can call it for the rollback, right? So that's why it is important to you can say characterize the transaction, characterize a transaction, characterize a schedule based on these two characteristics. So recoverability is basically indicated that I mean, you can say that it is a simple property, and it is also coming from its name, like recoverability. So how can you recover that schedule? Can that schedule is having ability to recover, to be recovered or to be recovered, something like that. So whenever a conflict is happening, conflict is appearing between two transactions, you need to see, after due to the failure of one transaction, can we recover it? What is the indicator of these, that based on that you can identify, or based on that system can identify that a schedule can be recoverable. That is first property. Second property says, if recoverability is not available, with a schedule cannot be recovered, what is the possible, what is the possible sequence of, what is the possible path for rollback, right? Suppose two transactions are arranged and there is a failure occurs, and both transactions are having some kind of conflicts during the operation, then what is the possible way of rollback, right? So for that they have defined property or characteristics called serializability. So serializability says, whenever two transactions are arranged, can they be performed in a serial fashion? If they can be performed based on some indicators, we can say if they can be performed in a serial fashion or in a sequence, then that is the sequence how you can recover, how you can roll back them, right? So whenever a schedule is arranged in schedule, more than two transitions involved, and you have observed that now these two transitions cannot be recovered, then you can identify the possible nature of possible points or possible steps of serial eligibility, and based on that characteristic you can identify a sequence of rollback, right? So this is something very interesting, and we will be having some kind of exercise is in also in the next class, that how to perform, how to identify the recoverability sequence in case you have more than one transactions involved. What will be the possible sequence of possible sequence of rollback, right? So that will be discussed. So today I mean, in this lecture, we are trying to open up about recoverability, right? So you can read the definition broadly in the statement. It says a schedule S. So suppose there is a schedule S, which can be said as a recoverable if no transaction T in the schedule commits until all the transaction T dash that have written some data item X that T reads have committed, right? So it simply indicate that suppose in a system we have two transactions T1 and T dash. So you need to see, I mean, when to commit a transaction, right? When to complete a transaction. So that you should be take care of. So because that's why we have just discussed that placing a commit point. So commit points are now important. You cannot commit a transaction. So suppose there are two transactions T1 and T2, and T2 is have some operation, like he's performing some write operation on X, and after that T1 is also T2 is reading this data item X, and due to some reason this any operation which is modifying the data item X value should not, I mean, committed, should not be committed before all the remaining transactions who are reading it are committed, right? So you need to take care about that, because the failure of T1 who has read this data item X and modified. So suppose this system fails in between, then this state of data value X will be in the invalid state. That will cause some problem for other transactions, right? So now you can see a transaction called SA, so which have like read X, then read by transaction T to X, then we have write W1X, then R to Y, then W2X, then C2. So C2 is basically commit of C2 operation. Then we have W1Y, then so you can see here, out of these transactions, we have two transactions T1 and T2. So first we have got read from both transactions. Then we have got W2, so modify X. Then we have, after modify X, which is transaction T1 operation, we have got R1W, which is a different data item. So this RW1 on Y does not create any problem. So after W1X, you can see W2X. So here transaction T1 is modifying the data item X first. After that, after only this W1X, we have got W2X, right? on data item X by T2 transaction. So you can see here C2 is happening first. C2 is happening at in the very first stage. After that we have got C1. So that is something is desired. So you can say if you see this kind of arrangement, like any transaction who are accessing a data value to modify should be committed after all the other transactions who are reading it, who are accessing it should be closed, right? So it is kind of last in first last in I mean last first in last out kind of arrangement. So in transaction who has access a data item on the first stage should be committed at the last stage, then only you can say the transaction is that this whole schedule is on a recoverable position, right? So as A can be recovery, that could be the conclusion also. So this schedule is recoverable even though it suffer from lost update. So that's okay because we can recover it, right? Similarly, if you see that there is another scenario, you can see in the schedule SC, we have read on X. After read on X, we have got W1X. So transition T1 is trying to modify it. Then we have got R2X, which is reading data item X by a transaction T2. Then we have got read R1Y. Then when we have got W2X. So now you can see this T1 transaction is the first transaction who is trying to modify. Then second transaction T2 is after few steps it is reading it and it is modifying it. And you can see here we have got C2. We have got C2, so commit of transaction T2, and after it is A1. It is abort of A1. So SC is not recoverable because you can see the conclusion also. SC is the schedule is not recoverable because T2 read data item X from T1. So whatever change we have done on data item X because of W1X, we are reading the same data item X after this modification, but T2 commits before T1 commits, right? So it means whenever you can see so because T1 is trying to modify, and we can see here transition T2 is basically getting closed first and T1 is still open. T1 has not committed yet. So it is assumed that if during this, after committing C2 operation, if due to some reason transaction T1 fails, so it means we cannot recover it. So the problem occurs if T1 aborts after C2 operation in SC is committed, then value of X that T2 reads is no longer valid. That is the major concern, and T2 must be aborted after it is committed. This is something it required because जिस value के basis पे T1 का operation शुरू हुआ read and read, that state of X item is itself is invalid because a transaction T1 who has modified it, who has read it prior to T2 is already aborted. It already failed this transaction. So that's why you cannot claim this kind of schedule is recoverable. This schedule cannot be recovered. The values of these kind of arrangements cannot be recovered. So for this kind of arrangement, we have this second operation called rollback, right? Similarly, there is a schedule called R1X, then W1X. So both are from transaction T1. Then we have R2X and R2Y and W2NX and WY. And we have got commits of both. So it is naturally as a recoverable state because we have not got any failure or any arrangements of any reasons for failure, right? So with this, I'm closing today's class. It is a short class though, but we have taken out all the possible definitions of that which indicates actually that a schedule is particularly recoverable or it can be recovered or not, right? In the next class we will see this another concept called serializability, and along with we will start the discussion on these protocols, right? Like so whenever we have these two things on place, okay, so because we have got these two characteristics, okay, a transaction is recoverable or not, transaction is serializable or not, when and how to recover, how to roll back it, right? So that is something for exceptional conditions when failure is happening, right? So ideally system is having this kind of preparation. So there are these two mechanisms arranged in a transaction processing system, in case of any failure, in case of any exceptions. That is ideally a solution is. But in case of normalcy, in case of, I mean, everything is good in place, so we have a few protocols arranged, right? So suppose a transaction processing system is not facing any difficulty, each and every transaction is happening in a, I mean, a very smooth way. There is no exception condition occurring. Each and every transaction is getting completed. In those scenarios, for those scenarios, uh, a transaction processing system is having some kind of concurrency control algorithms, concurrency control protocols, you can say. So for concurrency control protocols, it seems that there are few solutions available. Solutions, or maybe you can say the possible algorithms through which you can achieve the success of the transactions, right? So whenever we have these kind of you can say situations are happening, okay, we have got many transactions from the users, we have got many operations within each transaction schedule, and we have to support these real-time operations to the user. So for the failure cases, for the exceptional condition, we have got these two mechanisms, recovery and rollback. So that's what we are discussing, and we will be covering this second characteristic in the next class. So that is for failure or exceptional condition. But for normalcy or normal conditions, we have got these protocols to how to maintain concurrency, right? Because I mean, whenever we have got requests from different transactions, it is not an open thing. It is not an open world that, okay, you can have this system for recovery maintenance or rollback maintenance. In other situations, these transactions are happening smoothly. No, it's not possible. In a system, you need to have some kind of scheduler, some kind of system, subsystems. Like in operating system, we used to say there is a system utility called scheduler, and it is taking care of all the any concurrently operating system, concurrently operating processes, right? So similarly, in the case of transaction processing, we have got this component or utility called concurrency control subsystem, which takes care of all these arrangements. Whenever more than two processes, more than two transactions are happening, and each transactions more than one operations are happening, there is a need of system which will take care of all these concurrently happening transactions, concurrently happening operations, right? So within each these concurrency, or you can say uh, control or schedule system, we have got three alternative algorithms, right? So these two cases which we have taken, recoverability and serializability, these are for the failure cases. And if everything is smooth, everything is fine in the system, for that also we have got this module called concurrency control system. So in each concurrency control system, it is having three different alternative algorithms, right? So one algorithm is called you can say the locking protocols, right? Locking protocol is one solution. So to perform smoothly two transactions which are concurrently arranged or happening in the system, the first solution is called the locking mechanism, like that you can lock one transaction, you can lock a data item X for one transaction, and you can open that transaction for open that data item for other transactions. That is one arrangement. So locking is the first approach. After locking protocols, there are limitations on the locking protocols. Then we will start discussing on you can say timestamp mechanism, right? So based on the timestamp value, you can decide that, okay, between these two transactions, which one is supposed to get the access on data item X, and after that only the second transaction might access on data item X, right? So this is how you can maintain the concurrency for transaction, concurrency for operations of these transaction on the same data item, right? So timestamping is second. Yeah, there is a third mechanism also. It is called multivariant access or multivariant locking mechanism or protocol, right? So in the upcoming classes, we will be discussing the algorithmic aspect, or maybe you can say the pseudocode aspect, that This is how you can also write a code, right? To to first face to face even this locking protocol, which is the first solution to maintain the recoverability or to maintain this concurrency in the transactions. You can have your own you know locking algorithms or locking protocol. Similarly, for time stamping approach also, we can have our own solutions. So these are the some very generic algorithms, very generic pseudocodes, that how you can control the concurrency in a system. And to perform these algorithms like time stamping, then we have facing, then we have multi values constraints. You can have your own approach also. So these are very generic, they are very general algorithms, and we will be taking different these different algorithms in these different these different lectures, right? So basically what my intention is to say here, that as far as examination concerned, because we are on the last part of the syllabus, we are on the last topic of the syllabus. So these algorithms are the last part of the database syllabus. So broadly, but these are having some important concepts involved. So we will be covering these algorithms in a